Hello, friends. We're back again. It's Fightful Overbooked, and it is Royal Rumble season. So, who would I bring on than someone who's going to be at the Rumble? Someone who is going to enter the Rumble, potentially win, because Lord knows there needs to be more women in the Women's Royal Rumble. I got our friend Cher Delaware. Cher, how you doing?
I am fantastic. Who better to have on a Royal Rumble podcast than someone with a TLC tattoo? I mean,
That's right.
Same thing.
I mean, listen, at the end of the day, people are vying for a championship out of this whole thing, right?
Yeah.
Let's just reach as far as we can and try and make our case.
Yeah. I keep saying this is my hometown Rumble. I have never lived in Missouri. I do not live in St. Louis, but it is my claimed hometown now. So this is my hometown Rumble. So,
have you been to a Royal Rumble before?
I have not. This is my first one. I'm very excited.
It is a fun show. I went to the 2018 Rumble in Phoenix, and a couple of friends of mine and I went and saw way too much wrestling over 5 days, and the Rumble itself was just such a fun, weird experience, because when you're watching at home, you see everything, right? You see everyone coming in and you see all the action. No, when you're there live, it's a totally different animal.
But and that was the first women's Rumble too.
The second one. It was the second one.
18?
2019.
Oh, I thought you said you went 18. I was like, 18 was the first one. No, yeah, that was, but even still, I mean, like, to have two Rumbles when you go, like, yeah, I'm very excited. Last year's was actually supposed to be in St. Louis, and it was in the Thunderdome. So I would have got to see Bianca and Edge win, but, it is what it is. I'm excited that they gave St. Louis their Rumble, because, they could have just been like, sorry, you're off the list now. So I'm very excited, and I have a very bad feeling that after going to the Rumble, I'm going to convince myself I need to be at every single Rumble ever, and then have to go every year.
It's an easy mistake to make. I almost did the same to go to Texas for 2020. I did not. And even this year, I spoke to you. I was just like, I'm looking at flights. They're $600 return. And you're like, don't do it.
Yeah, I'm that way with AEW pay-per-views now. I think I need to be at all of them. So, we know how much it takes myself to convince I need to go somewhere. So.
Exactly. It just takes a few replies, just being like, yeah, why not? You can do it. Sure, go ahead.
I'm like, this is a good idea, right? Right. Yeah. Okay.
Easy. Well, it was easy enough for me to ask you to come on today and hang out and talk about our favorite Royal Rumble, Rumbles. What would be the plural? Is it Royal Rumbles or Royals Rumble?
Royal Rumbles.
Yeah.
Because Royal is describing the Rumble.
Okay.
That's the adjective. And
what
the
is
Rumble,
so royal about it?
The Rumble is the noun. And so you're gonna plural the noun there. I mean, I don't know. King Woods is hurt. He's not even gonna be there.
There you go. I always wonder, why wouldn't you have, if you want to talk about King of the Ring and the Royal Rumble, why not have them together? Why wouldn't why wouldn't the winner of the King of the Ring get their pick of the Rumble spot they take?
Or even have the crowning match at it's royal.
Oh my God. We could have done so much.
I know. Instead, they had it in Saudi Arabia, but
well, one and the same. Anyway, let's talk about our favorite Royal Rumble. How about I kick it off? I'll give a rather unused Royal Rumble, and that's 2018 Royal Rumble. Now,
I love the 2018 Royal Rumble, the men and the women's, both of them.
So I do have both the 2018 women and men's. I'll focus on the men's. And then if you want to add something, you do that. And then we can talk about the women's as well. I loved, as we get to the end of the 2018 Royal Rumble, we get like this old versus new showdown, this 3-on-3 where it's Cena and Orton and Rey Mysterio. And then they're facing off against Finn Balor and Nakamura and Roman Reigns. And Roman Reigns is, like, for all intents and purposes at this point, still of the new class, the new generation. Yeah. And like having Nakamura eventually win the match, we know what happens afterwards. It doesn't matter. But like in the moment, dude, like no one expected that. And just to see,
not out of those 6, he would have been the last one you would expect.
Exactly. And like to see a new young talent, well, young in terms of WWE, make his way to the top of the Royal Rumble food chain. That was great. That alone made that match stand out for me.
the new versus young thing always made me laugh because Roman was obviously the youngest out of all of them, but like John Cena's only like 4 years older than Finn Balor. So
Yeah.
you know, like they're all kind of, but yeah, I mean the new generation versus the older generation. Yeah, that part was fantastic in that match. And I really was so shocked that Shinsuke won. And when I was going through the Rumble this year, everyone, I get tagged like every day. Who do you think is going to win the Royal Rumble? Last year, you were on the watch along with me.
Yep.
How many times did I say Daniel Bryan's winning the Royal Rumble? Daniel Bryan's winning the Royal. I was convinced, and when he got eliminated, I just sat there like I did not think that they were going to have 47-year-old Edge win the Royal Rumble.
Going coast to coast, no less.
Yeah, he was in there for like an hour. Like it was insane.
I mean, in there, he was definitely not there the entire time.
Well, I mean, he was there. It wasn't like Randy where he went in the back for half the match. Like,
he had to hang out with his pals. That's all. He's escaping COVID. Yeah. That's all that was.
But I mean, that like, yeah, I was with this year's, whenever people say that, I'm like, I would love for it to be like a Shinsuke thing again, where it's someone you don't expect. Because everyone keeps being like, the only person I could see is AJ. Well, that's the point of the Royal Rumble. It doesn't have to be someone that's already been at the top of the card. Like, I would love for it to be Montez Ford. Like,
that'd be interesting.
That would be fantastic, you know, just somebody different. But the problem is 90% of the people in the men's Royal Rumble are tag teams.
Right. I would even say, you know what? I made the case for this on another show on this channel. And I said Big E would make sense. We've talked about it. But like the thing with E is you have him come in. He's been out like a lamb. You bring him in like a lion and he absolutely decimates and wins the Royal Rumble. It's entirely possible.
And Big E was supposed to be on Raw. I didn't watch Raw this week, so I don't know if he was on this week or not. But the week before, the week before he was supposed to be, and he was at the show and they took him off of the show. So I wonder if that's not like they're keeping him off the show for a reason. I know he's been on SmackDown, but those are two different worlds. Like, I wonder, he's not technically even on SmackDown. So, like, I wonder if they're not doing that for a reason. And I mean, if I get to see Big E win the Royal Rumble in person, I might die. So
you would have the time of your life. The reaction video alone would get everyone talking.
I'd be the person in all the future video packages crying in the audience.
Yes, absolutely. You have your hands over your face. So 2018, we saw Adam Cole and Andrade show up from NXT. This was when they were kind of like half putting people from NXT in and half not. And like, this was a pretty cool experience because neither guy really made a huge impact, right?
Andrade was champion then too, wasn't he? Didn't he come in as... I was thinking he came into the match as champion. He had TakeOver the night before.
Or did he drop it at that TakeOver?
He may have dropped it. He didn't get called up till after that though. My years run together, especially since the pandemic. It's been 2020 for like 5 years now, so I don't actually know years. But I remember, I think that may have been the 2019 one when Cole had that crazy match the night before at TakeOver, and then came into, like, nobody expected him to be in the match, and he came in like ribs taped up and everything. Like, I remember the Andrade because a lot of people didn't watch NXT and they're like, who is this guy? Like,
and for a while I think WWE thought that this was a good way to introduce NXT characters and maybe drive NXT interest. Clearly it's not, and I don't think this year we're going to see much of anyone from NXT, maybe one or two, and I do not want to see Braun Breaker.
I was just getting ready to say that because if he's not going to win, he does not need to be in the match.
Exactly. You don't need to dump your champion out just because he gets exposure. It doesn't work that well.
I would love to see Tony D trying to buy people off, like trying to pay people to put themselves over the ropes and stuff, you know, like they did the comedy thing last year with Billy and Jilly in the women's Rumble. Like, do a little comedy thing in the mid. Like, he can wrestle, like he can, you know, throw people over, whatever. Like, I think that would be funny though.
I agree. And then finally, speaking of funny, the funny thing from 2018 was the Hurricane. Shows up.
Oh yeah. The thing with Cena, seconds. Wasn't it?
Yeah.
And then he kept the whole time walking around the crowd doing, oh my God, he was so over. I actually just watched the 2021 Rumble where he came in for that spot, like randomly. He was in, and then I think Christian was in right after him, and he got eliminated before Christian even came out. And he got thrown over, I think it was by Bobby and someone else, and he like legitimately broke his tailbone when they threw him out.
Right.
I'm like, he's never gonna bring his gear to be in another Rumble match.
Well, who knows what this year brings?
Yeah, next time they're like, we need a producer. He's gonna be like, send in Pierce.
Yeah, exactly. Have the guy who didn't have the Rumble match last time, have him show up.
Not me.
So you want to talk about the women's 2018 Royal Rumble match?
The best Royal Rumble that the women's have had. That was the best one.
Really? Okay.
Last year's was really good. Bianca's was,
Yes.
I mean, that was great. Not having fans there took away a lot of it for me. I mean, I cried on stream when she won, but
I remember. Yeah.
I was also in the Thunderdome at the same time, but
you needed to pour it on.
Yeah, but it takes, like, watching it back now that we do have fans back, it's hard to watch Thunderdome stuff back now because I'm like, oh my gosh. So that takes away a lot of it for me, but that being the first one and it being so emotional and like didn't really need Stephanie on commentary, but she didn't add much to it, but whatever. Yeah. Did not need Maria Menounos ring announcing. I just rewatched this the other day and I was like, I'm going to watch 2018. This is the one where Asuka wins. Truly, I did not think Asuka was going to win it. So like her winning it anyways was cool. It got overshadowed by Ronda. So that was like, didn't really, could have done that the next night, but whatever. Yeah. But like, that was just, it was such a moment. Trish's music hitting at number 30, like really no one expected Trish to be there, and you got Lita, and there was just so much in that match. The face-off between Trish and Mickey was like the crowd was just electric for that, and both of them, you could tell, were so excited. I tweeted the other day they need to run that back this year since Mickey's going to be in the Rumble, and Trish posted the other day like she'd got her hair fixed and she was ready to go, and everybody's like, for what are you ready to go for? Like,
and then she's like, for a Hallmark movie that I'll be in that starts filming in February.
So I'm like, I do think that Trish would still, like, Trish is one that you would want to keep back as a surprise and not announce. I mean,
I agree.
So I don't know. It was great. It was a great match. It's my favorite one to watch back. I ranked all of the Rumbles last year, and now I was actually looking for my paper earlier so I could try to find it, and I can't find the notebook that it's in. I write everything down, so I've got like 5 notebooks right here. So I couldn't find which one it was in.
We know which one was number 1, right?
Of the
Royal Rumbles?
Don't even say 1993.
Fine.
Actually, I think I had 2007 as my number 1.
I didn't even put that on my list. Why I think 2007?
That was the Cena return.
No, that was 2008.
That was 2008. Yeah, 2008 I think was the one. My top 5 were 92. Of
course.
2020.
Yep, I have that on my list as well.
2018.
Yep.
And maybe I get 2000 and 2001 confused.
2000 was The Rock at MSG. 2001 was Stone Cold.
It was one of those. I can't remember which one. And then 1999 is the worst.
I don't hate 99. There was a story there. I have 2001 there because it's like the hardcore Royal Rumble where most of the match is completely inconsequential. They're just pulling out toys and doing stupid shit. And like the story really is Stone Cold returning from injury and like having this great comeback story to set up for WrestleMania X7, right?
Yeah.
But like that whole story in the Rumble match is Kane, right? Has like 55 minutes or something in the Rumble, eliminates everybody. It's like 11 eliminations. And then Stone Cold eliminates Kane, and that's the end of the match. Like that's the climax of that Royal Rumble. That's one of my favorites.
Actually, on Quizlemania a couple weeks ago, it was all Royal Rumble based. And I always do the crowd-based questions that they do on there because wrestling Twitter sucks and they usually give awful answers. So I try to like balance it out a little bit. And actually all of my answers were in the top. So that was good. But they had like, they were doing the best Royal Rumbles and the worst Royal Rumbles. And on the worst, there's a lot. I mean, like I said, 99 is awful, and a lot of the earlier ones, they were still getting their footing.
Yeah.
So like they just weren't, it just didn't hit as much. But Shawn Michaels' first win, that is a terrible Rumble. That's 96, 95. Terrible. Yeah. It's a terrible Rumble. Like him and Bulldog start it, and like the only other person that comes out through the whole match that you would even think would possibly win it is Luger.
Yeah. And that was a down period for them.
Yeah, it was an awful match. I mean, just so many of the people in it, you would have they've never been in another Royal Rumble. Like, if you watch it back, you're like, who are these people? They had their knockoff Blues Brothers in it. Like, it was an awful Rumble. And it was just basically to showcase those two, but it was not a good Rumble at all. And that was not on the list for one of the worst Rumbles. And I was shocked because it is, of course, Romans went, what was that, 15?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was up there. I knew that would be up there, but that's not a good Rumble.
So you were talking about 95 and they were showcasing a bunch of talent and it wasn't really good.
And it wasn't good showcasing.
No, and so I'll give you an example of good showcasing of talent, and that's the 2020 Women's Rumble.
Yes.
Because that Rumble was entirely NXT and NXT UK talent, and even the winner, Charlotte Flair, ends up going and challenging for an NXT championship. So there was definitely some sort of like youth movement that they were trying to push in 2020 before the pandemic. Clearly that didn't work out because of COVID and because of everything else that's happened since then. But like at the time, you can tell they were going in that direction.
Mm-hmm. And Bianca had a great showing.
She did.
In that Rumble. She looked fantastic. And she ended up getting eliminated by Charlotte, if I remember correctly. Because everyone kept thinking she's going to win. And then Charlotte eliminated her and nobody wanted Charlotte to win. Charlotte was going to win.
Yeah.
Like
they made the most sense. And then when you saw, I don't think people noticed at the time that like it was so densely NXT that the story really was all these NXT talent came in, all these NXT talent got bested by Charlotte. Charlotte wants the best of NXT.
Yes.
Like that was the story at the time. There were 6 women from SmackDown. There were 8 women from Raw. There were 11 women from NXT or NXT UK. And then they had like 4 legends. They had Kelly Kelly. They had Molly Holly. They had Beth Phoenix. Do you remember who the 4th one was?
Let's see. Beth. That was the year that Beth bled, wasn't it?
That was 2020. Yeah.
Yeah. And I remember someone telling me that they were like, "Are you okay? You're bleeding a lot." And she was like, "Red means green. Red means money." Like she knew. She was about it. But yeah, that was a good Rumble. I think a lot of people forget about that because that was the Edge return. So like when people think 2020, all they think is that nobody cares that Drew McIntyre won. All they think is Edge return.
And that was a really good Rumble too, because it was like the story was half Brock and half Drew. Like that was such a good story of a Rumble. Probably the first like well-told men's Rumble story in a while.
It was. That was and people were so furious over Brock. Yeah. And then Brock got eliminated. And yeah, that was a really, really good Rumble. Both of them were.
You missed the one legend who was in the 2020 Women's Royal Rumble. Santina.
Oh God.
I had
forgot about that for a reason. It was out of my mind for a reason.
But anyway, the 2020 Men's Rumble was great. And then like you said, Edge returns and that kind of overshadows everything. And MVP also showed up and that was kind of cool.
19 was when Seth won, right?
Yes.
And Becky.
Yes. And the Becky story was prominent. That was it.
My issue with that women's, that's like my least favorite women's, is just because when Becky lost earlier in the night, you knew she was going to win.
Yes.
It was just how she would get into the match.
Yeah. And they did a pretty good job, especially because the Nia Jax stuff carries over to the men's Royal Rumble as well, where
Yes.
she takes out R-Truth and is just like, forget
Mhm.
this, I'm in. And like she gets an RKO and everyone's like, oh my God, women and men touching in WWE, that never happens. Like Randy's the only one who can do it.
Yeah.
And that's just the way it is. But one thing about the 19 women's Rumble that I like is that there are no extras, there's no Hall of Fame, no legends. It's just women from Raw, SmackDown, NXT. Like it was all balanced out.
Yeah.
It was the first Rumble that stood on its own without any extra help.
With Lana with her broken ankle.
Yes.
And like, I will never forget how loud it was when Becky's music hit. Like you knew it was coming.
Mhm.
Everybody knew it was coming, and still it was insane. And that's like people there said when she won, like the pop when her music hit, but then the pop when she won, the loudest pops that they'd ever heard. Like it was just, it was crazy.
I was there. I was
Yeah.
watching, and I remember the whole thing just being like, "Oh shit! Like this is big." It was a big moment.
Yeah, I just for sure a big deal, a big moment, and that's what I said about 2021. It makes me sad that Bianca and Edge didn't get that moment. Like
Yep.
they both deserved to have the not people's faces on a screen. Like
It's true. It's true. They had to go back and like look at their phones to get all that adulation.
oh my
And be
god,
like, "Oh
yeah.
my God, Edge won!" Like
And the
they're
pumped
the
in
only
crowd
one.
noise.
And they didn't hear that stuff, right? Like when they
No,
were
yeah,
in
you
the
couldn't
in the
hear anything
room.
in there. So it was just now some people did request it. So I don't know if they had it in. I would want it in there for the Rumble. That would be
Me
real
too.
awkward to have all that in the match if not
Yep.
in there. I'd have to go back and ask if they had it in there because some people would request to have it in the arena for their matches because they didn't like
Smart.
the silence. I would want it in there.
Same
Like
here.
I don't need to hear everybody like slapping their legs. like
And you can hear commentary loud and clear, just talking
yeah,
shit. Like who
that's
wants that?
like that's why I always loved was it Bailey during her matches when she would
Mhm.
yell stuff at Cole because she could hear him
Yeah,
like
that's the match we want at WrestleMania
yeah.
now. Okay, I'm gonna give you one last stat that most people don't know this. You know how everyone talks about Curtis Axel never being eliminated from the Royal Rumble, therefore he's the winner.
Correct.
In 2008, Hornswoggle actually won. Did you know about this?
I just watched the 2008 Royal Rumble the other day.
So Swoggle spends most of the time under the ring, and then he's forced into the ring by Mark Henry, and then they team up with Big Daddy V. Mark Henry and Big Daddy V team up, and they beat up Hornswoggle. And then Finley, who's the next guy to come out, he comes out early, attacks Big Daddy V and Mark Henry with the shillelagh, gets himself disqualified, but Hornswoggle went through the ropes and left. So he never was eliminated.
Yep. Yeah, I just watched that one the other day. And I was laughing when he like was reaching up trying to get Mark Henry's hand like to get into the ring and Henry's like can't, he's too tall and he can't reach down. So they're like they're trying to get the spot ready and they can't reach each other. That was fantastic. Fantastic. I'm wondering what kind of shenanigans there will be this year. Because they're going to be shenanigans. It's the first
Yes.
Rumble back.
Yeah, they have to do something cool. They're gonna. I assume they're gonna do some fun stuff. I mean, listen, they're talking about Ronda for the Rumble, but we gotta do some comedy, right? We gotta have the Boogeyman, right? We gotta do something.
Oh God.
Maybe not the Boogeyman. Somebody. Who do you want to see in a comedy role show up for this thing?
I don't know. I mean, the funny thing is we had Danhausen debut last night. Like I think Danhausen would be someone hilarious for that. Obviously he's signed elsewhere now, but I don't think that would be someone that WWE would be like, oh yeah, we should bring him in because they would not get it.
Right.
So I don't know. I mean, I just hope that they are good matches.
Me too. And you're going to be there live. You're going to enjoy every minute of it. I'm going to be right here watching, whether that's with people watching on Twitch or whatever it is. It'll be a fun time. Cher, we went 24 minutes without talking about the 1992 Royal Rumble, which is perfect. That's all I wanted to do. We did it. Success. Yes. Tell the people where they can find you on the internet.
You can find me on Twitter at Cher Delaware. And go to SherDelaware.com and buy some shirts.
That merch is fire. Go buy it right now. ShareDelaware.com. I'll put it over again. It's Fightful Overbooked. I am Joel Pearl, at Joel Pearl, JoelPearl. Ladies, gentlemen, friends beyond the binary, enjoy the Royal Rumble, and we'll see you in the next video.